Hey, Ina, it's so nice to have you on the show today. How are you doing?
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Beautiful, beautiful. And just like I mentioned earlier, thank you so very much for being here. And you see, Ina, oftentimes I love to thank my guests for two things. And I do this so often to the point where it has become an anthem for me. So, firstly, Ina, I want to say thank you so very much for investing in yourself. You see, you are on this platform right now because you did invested in yourself. And oftentimes, I love to make reference to the amazing mango tree. Say some couple of months back, I was on a particular road, and just by the roadside, there was this very tall, unattractive mango tree. And I use the word unattractive because the mango tree's got no mangoes on it, and the leaves were all dry. So I just walked past it and I went my way. But you see, just recently, I was on that same road. And this time around, a lot's changed about the mango tree. The mango tree caught my attention pretty good from a distance, and immediately I got the urge to move so close to it, of which I did, and it wowed me. Because now the mango tree's got a lot of mangoes on it, beautiful green leaves and healthy branches. And not just mangoes now. I'm talking about ripe mangoes. It was such a lovely moment that day. I was so excited. Here is my point. The fact that you dedicated your time, energy, and resources to becoming the amazing Inna that you are today, that alone has made it really impossible for me to skip you. And that's why you got the request from me to be on the show because I was attracted to the fruit of all that you're doing. Your philosophies, your insight, the impact your work is having, how you're offering your solutions. These stuffs are amazing. And just before I sent the request, I said to myself, I've got to benefit from these beautiful things Ina is doing. Not only me now, but even the audience. And here we are today with the amazing Ina. So thank you so very much for doing that to yourself. And secondly, thank you for saying yes to the invite. Because if you had said nope, there was nothing Elisha could do about it. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Beautiful.
Beautiful. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so very much. So let's get started. You see, I'm quite excited to have you on the show today for two reasons. Firstly, my interest in knowledge seeking. You see, I believe in order for one to transition from a terrible situation to that of a beautiful one, I believe it takes the application of knowledge, quality information. And you see, ever since and not just knowledge now, but the application of it. And you see, ever since I realized that light in the Hebrew means knowledge and darkness means ignorance, I've been so keen to knowledge seeking. Why? Because I do not want to remain in the dark. So that's going to make our conversation today very important to me and even to the listeners. And the second reason why I'm excited to have the amazing Ina on the show is for the sake of the audience. You see, we live in an age where information is as abundant as grains of sand. We've got a lot of information flying out there. So these folks trust me for quality, eye-opening, and very important information, of which I am totally convinced that our conversation is going to be insightful and impactful. So for that reason, let's get started with your introduction. Talk to us about your personal or your professional journey. Because right now we are so curious. We want to know how Ina got here. Then afterwards, I've gotten some beautiful questions for you. Okay, Ina, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. My journey started because, like most people, I was in pain and I wasn't getting anywhere. And I was actually quite young when this happened. When I was in my early teens, I had really bad back pain that began from what to me at the time seemed nowhere. I also had psoriasis all over my skin, which is a very itchy, unpleasant skin condition. I had anxiety, had digestive problems, and I was constantly going round and round in circles, seeing all sorts of both medical and holistic practitioners. And then I feel like many of us have this moment, a really deciding moment for our lives. And I ended up in a chiropractor's office, and I had been seeing him for a while, but this particular time I was in agony, and he basically came out of his office and looked at me and he said, "Your body's stuck." And I said to him, "I know that part. What can we do to heal it?" And he paused for a moment and then he said nothing. And I have to say, when I got to the office, I was pretty depressed and anxious, but on the way out, and at that stage I would have been around 20, I was so angry. It had been years and years that I had been battling with health issues. And whilst I was in the car on the way back, I made a decision that I was going to heal myself. I didn't exactly know how I was going to do that, but I really felt like my thinking, my feeling, my will, every part of me was truly aligned. And when I got home, I started by counting backwards because I knew my mind would get in and try and be really skeptical and limiting. And so I thought I'll just count backwards from 30. I started breathing with the pain instead of pushing it away and trying to avoid it. And as I was doing that, I decided to ask if there was something higher than me, if there was something divine that could help me. And so as I did that, I felt this warm golden light enter my body. And then I don't know where from, but it occurred to me to ask if I could see into my back, if I could see into my spine, which I did. And it was like the light went on and I got a bit of a shock. But from there, I just asked questions like, why do I have this incredible pain at this early young age? And I want to clarify, I didn't ask from a place of victimhood. I asked because I was truly curious. And I didn't know at that time, but I'm a very visual person. And so I had a visual image that came in front of me, and that was of going to school and being bullied because I didn't actually know how to speak English very well, because I was born in Eastern Europe and immigrated to Australia when I was pretty young. And so I felt through it and I just kind of kept saying to myself, I let it go, and I connected to that part of myself and got wisdom. And then the image changed and I saw my family and how conflicting and stressful it was when I again would come home, and my parents found it really difficult also to be in a new country. And so I realized I didn't feel safe. And as I acknowledged that, and obviously it was a lot deeper than what I'm saying, the image changed and I was aware of my grandparents who had gone through the war and lost a lot of people in their family and had a lot of trauma, and how I took that on as well. And the last image I had was that I was one of those people that absorbed energy from others, and that I needed to learn how to not only how to have boundaries and how to protect myself from being this sponge. And I fell asleep after that. And the next day when I wake up, 70% of the pain was gone. And for the next 3 weeks, I kind of didn't really leave the bed too much because I was very skeptical and I didn't want my pain to come back. And so I just kept exploring. And from there, I felt like my skin condition completely disappeared. My back pain disappeared. My digestion improved. My anxiety went down. And I knew that I was onto something profound, this kind of language of the body. And then I started learning more and more about it and doing different courses and interviewing people, kind of like you're doing. And I realized that I had this awakened disability where I could see into people's kind of energy fields and bodies. So I started working with people one-on-one and did that for about 15 years. I wrote a book called The Secret Language of Your Body, which ended up selling over 1 million copies. And I've just been teaching ever since, teaching people how to listen to their bodies, how to understand themselves and who they are, and how to really transform trauma and pain and overcome various challenges, both from the physical body, but also just things that happen in our lives.
Beautiful. What a profound story, profound journey, and incredible words. You see, I feel like this is a very important topic because a lot of people are suffering from certain illness and issues with their bodies because they don't understand the secret language of the body. So it's amazing how you got this stuff and you're using the solution to help others. That's so beautiful. I love that. So I've got those questions, but let's begin with these ones first, okay? So it says, how does the body communicate with us? Got it?
Well, the body communicates with us in lots of obvious ways. So there's the super obvious, like pain or pleasure or tension or discomfort or lack of energy or feeling dizzy or actually lots of feelings. So we know that when we feel good, we are full of vitality, we're excited, we want, our heart is open and we want to do things in our lives, and we have the capacity to do that, and we can focus. When things are off, we feel depressed or we can't think clearly, so everything's hazy. Often the body's not digesting food because essentially what we don't often understand is that our digestive system and every part of the body has wisdom, and it's representing different aspects of what's going on in our lives. So when we actually look at, well, what do different parts of the body do or systems do, we start to understand that the digestive system digests. So, but when we go a little bit deeper and we look at, well, what else is it connected to? And this is where the energy systems can come in, or the chakras, and we start to see how the chakra connected to the digestive system is all about our sense of self. It's all about how we feel about ourselves, the experiences that we've had. Do we believe in ourselves, or do we put ourselves down and essentially feel like we have no confidence? And and this kind of leads into even deeper exploration, which is, how do we know ourselves? Well, we know ourselves through different aspects that show up. And I'm really, really big at the moment into exploring archetypes, mainly because I feel that our emotions in themselves are very hard to structure and understand. So we don't necessarily understand that the heart is a relationship center, just like the solar plexus is all about who we believe ourselves to be and how people read us. And I might have fear that I experience in the heart, but the fear that I experience in the heart is all to do with potentially intimacy or relationships, or the fact that I want to live my dream so much, but I'm scared to fail. But the experience in the solar plexus of the fear is all about feeling like a victim, feeling like in my life I failed, or people don't give me the opportunity that I want to have. And so the fear is quite different. And what I found is that very often people try and generalize everything. And so then they can't really understand the full spectrum of the messages from their own bodies. They're the kind of, everything's general and unclear. But when our bodies communicate and we can start to identify the feeling, the story, the age or the time period where this has occurred, the way that part of us grew or didn't grow, then the wisdom can truly come through the body, and we can start to not just identify when, when the pain is there, when a sickness is there, but actually prevent it by being aware of our feelings and sensations in the body.
Amazing, Ina. I said something earlier when we were about to start. I said, I am totally convinced that our conversation is going to be insightful and impactful. And now you just proved me right. Now I see why you're so good at what you do. You see, this stuff you're explaining now, I wish we were taught when we were much younger, like when we were still a kid, and we grew up with this understanding. It would have helped us understand our bodies better. But I believe it's not too late. So the question is, can anyone learn to understand their bodies or their body's signals? Got it?
I think that you have to be open to it. And so what I find is that if somebody is open to it, then absolutely. But what happens over a long period of time is that we become numb and disassociated, which is how we don't feel the body. And the reason we become numb and disassociated is because we're so focused on the outside and what's going on in the outside world, and we're chasing things and running around and doing things all the time. And essentially, to connect to your body, you've got to slow down. You've got to breathe. You've got to listen. You've got to ask questions and clarify. And at times when somebody has become very numb, they have to wake their body up and do a little bit more. And this is through movement. This is through touch. This is through breath. This is through giving permission. And the most important out of them all is being honest. So what I find is if somebody doesn't want the truth, doesn't want to really understand what is your body telling you, because in the thinking, it's telling you potentially to change your thinking. In the feeling sense, in your heart and your solar plexus and your digestive system, it's the feelings are giving you insights, and again through archetypes of what's going on and how you didn't grow in an area of your life. And then we've got the will center around our hip area, our legs moving forward. And this is all about change. And the reason that some people don't want to hear the body, don't want to connect and awaken it, is because they realize that they are going to have to make real changes in their life and they're not prepared for it. And so the body is very intelligent, and so is your soul. I feel it's like the body-soul connection. And it will not let go, and it will not offer you insight if you are not prepared to change. And so if you are prepared to be, sometimes I say ruthlessly honest and to change, then 100% anybody can listen. But if you're not, then it's going to be a lot harder because you won't allow yourself to get those insights.
In other words, you must be willing. You must be willing and ready to take all of the necessary steps. I got that. So let us talk about awakening the healer within. What makes it different from other healing methods?
Well, how many weeks do we have to talk about this? Um, Look, the thing for me, and the easiest way for me to explain this is that I've from when I was 20, I've never had another job in my life, and I have spent every kind of moment of my life trying to connect the different pieces together. I do have an ability to tune into people, so when I am creating a process, or when I'm looking at what is the disease or the disorder that somebody's dealing with, I'm not guessing. I'm actually creating a map and connecting the pieces because I have learned the language of the body and the soul. And that is essentially what I teach those people who are ready for it, how to both know how this language works, but also how to know yourself. And in the last 10 years in particular, I've delved very, very deeply into kind of mystery school knowledge, and I've connected very profound, deep understanding of our soul and our spirit and who we truly are on a foundational level and why we're here and where we're going. Because I feel like healing in itself is about understanding everything about who you are, both on the physical and mental, emotional levels, but also on a spiritual level. So for me, I think the difference between what I teach and what a lot of other people do is the depth that I go to, all the pieces that I've connected, the complexity of it. I am not a believer in fast, simple, and instant, because I just don't think it works. I don't think Band-Aids work. I've been doing this for a very long time. And what I really try and give people is the most profound foundation of both understanding who they are, understanding what kind of experiences and cycles from the beginning of their life to where they are now affected them, where they're going, understanding themselves as I said, as a spiritual being, but not in the context of simplification, but actually how we grew to be this being, which subtle bodies we have, and how all these different pieces of the puzzle connect. And so I guide people through a real journey, and they can start in a more simpler, easier way where, it's just really connecting to the body, listening, understanding more of the messages, working with the book that I wrote, The Secret Language of Your Body, through all the processes, or they can go for a deep dive into really understanding who they are on so many different levels and working with the cycles, the 7-year cycles of who they are, understanding the chakras, understanding the developmental stages of who they are, and really kind of connecting not just, why a disease or might have started, but also which parts of you are involved in it and how do you grow when, you had trauma and pain and difficult experiences and you didn't grow, and how do you do it in a way that is sustainable and beautiful and gentle without forcing, pushing, or making things kind of explode. And I feel like there's a lot of modalities that are forceful because people just want the experience now or yesterday, and they don't understand the wisdom that needs to come, that every little piece of the puzzle takes you to the next level of exploration. And when you you can't get from A to X in a minute, right? It's like a Z. And that's what a lot of people want. And it's actually dangerous. And so what I give people is incredible depth of knowledge, including understanding that healing happens in different stages and what occurs in each stage. So there's a lot to it. And I think it's particular depth that I offer.
I tell you, and I can attest to that because it sounds like a deep, deep dive. And it also sounds like a very effective approach. Beautiful, I love it. So to bring this to an end, what would you like to leave the audience with, like a final thought? And to those folks who like to reach out to you, learn more about all of these things we've talked about, or make a purchase of your book, or upon some of your programs, how can that be possible?
The best way for people to connect is to go to my website, innasegal.com, and look up the free masterclasses. One of the first ones that people can start with is for the secret language of your body uncovered, which is which you'll just see. It's called The Secret.
I'm really glad you're here. Thank you for dishing out this beautiful stuff. So that's going to be the end of the show. Thank you for coming and thank you for sharing these powerful words with us. It means a whole lot. Thank you.